Okay, so welcome to another live session. Um, my name is Stella Chibuike-Ezike. I'm a mother of two incredible daughters, and here on Substack, I write about conscious parenting and building intentional family lives. I see quite a number of people joining here who probably don't know me, so that's why I'm introducing myself. I write about conscious parenting. I write about building intentional family lives. For the past few weeks, I've been talking about a framework which I use in my parenting. And this is the third week. This is the third series. So it's all about grow, connect, and thrive. 2 weeks ago, we talked about grow, and grow is all about building your personal growth, building your personal development, living intentionally for the sake of your children. Yes, for the sake of you first, of course, and then automatically how that also drives the growth of your children. And then the next framework, which we talked about, was connect. And connect is all about how you can turn that growth. Now, when you are living intentionally, you're learning, you're unlearning, and you are relearning. How are you using that to build authentic connection with your children? How are you spending quality time with them? Not so much about the quantity, but building authentically, connecting authentically with them, ensuring that your presence is all about what matters most. And then that naturally leads into thriving, right? So, thriving is all about creating the right conditions for you to be able to nurture your children into what exactly you expect them to be. Yes. And all of this I'm talking about, grow, connect, and thrive. It's all about what I'm doing here on Substack and any other place that you find me on YouTube, on Instagram, anywhere you see my write up, it's all about how to build intentionally family lives and how to also use all of that to ensure that your children are thriving alongside you, or you're thriving alongside your children, as the case may be. And it is this journey and everything I know today is bedded from my own messy, beautiful experience. Yes, and I'm writing all of that, especially after I lost my dad in 2024. And that's what led to my being here. And I'm currently documenting all of this in my book, which doesn't have a name yet. But of course, I'm documenting all of this, the framework, all of the stories, my own journey, hoping that even if it's one person, right, would it positively impact them, their own lives, and certainly the lives of their children as well. And I would love for you to join me as I write this. I'm currently receiving um, requests for being an ARC reader. Basically, that means that you get to relive the book as I write it, right? So I'll be sharing chapter drafts as I release them. I already have a couple released. And if you'd like to also release them, you could actually um, sign up in the form. I'm going to be dropping it in the link right away. Doing that right away. So please, if you'd like to to be an ARC reader, you can sign up, and I'm going to be sharing the chapters. It's as I write them here. All right, so let's dive into Thrive. I think the very first thing that I had to learn was the fact that you cannot force your children to thrive, right? The same way you cannot force them into being emotionally intelligent, you can't force them into or talk them into resilience, right? You really cannot, you can't force them to thrive. However, you can create the conditions where thriving becomes natural, where thriving becomes inevitable, where thriving becomes a natural consequence of all of the things that you are intentionally doing. And I'll show you how I mean. So when my daughter was 4, she went through a lying phase, and it was actually a developmental phase. I've shared this story in a number of sessions um, where I've had the opportunity to speak. And when she started that, I panicked. I gave her lectures about honesty. I explained consequences. I had to say things like, "We don't lie here." Where did you pick that up from? Nothing worked. In fact, the more I pushed, the more she lied. Right. And I was trying to engineer honesty into her. I was trying to force her to be perfect. And it wasn't until I started my conscious parenting, my intentional living journey that I realized this is really not how this works, right? It doesn't work this way. I always like to use the analogy of a seed. When you plant a seed, right? What makes that seed grow? It's not by pulling its sprout. It's not by forcing the seed to grow, if you get how I mean. It's by creating the right conditions, right? You have to ensure that there's the right amount of water. You have to ensure that the nutrients are fit for this for that particular plant. You have to ensure that there's adequate sunlight, yes. And just doing all of that. And naturally growth just happens. It's as if it's automatic, but it's not, because you actually did certain ground work. You actually did certain things to ensure that that seed grows into a seedling and then eventually a young plant and then a mature plant, right? So I realized that I needed to create the condition. What conditions was I creating really at the time when she picked up line? Where was the connection? Where was the instead of me to model instead of me for her to see my human side, I was modeling perfection. I didn't I was hiding my flaws, right? So where was really the space for her to say, tell me the truth, or without being judged harshly? No, I was reacting with lectures. Where was she? Did she ever see me handle my own failures with grace? No. I was treating mistakes as being shameful, and I was projecting perfection. And really, it's funny to me how I look back now and I realize, oh, these were all the things I was doing, and it just made me realize that really, when you are on a learning journey, right? I mean, there's so many things that you do, and you're just ignorantly doing them. You don't even understand the consequences of what you're doing, or the impact that these things are having on the people around you negatively. And it just used to make me laugh to say, oh my God, this was actually what I was doing, so I was, and it just a sober reflection for me that, oh, right now I actually know better, right? And I'm doing better. So I really wasn't creating the conditions for honesty to flourish, if you really think about it. Instead, I was creating conditions that made her feel safer lying than telling the truth, right? So when I started to understand this, I started to learn this, and I started to change the soil. I started connecting with her. I started modeling vulnerability. I stopped the lecture and I started responding with empathy. I started to even understand, where was this line coming from? Was it out of fear that you've done something wrong? Was it because, oh, you don't want to feel like, oh, you have failed, right? And then I started to have that empathy and let her know, look, it's we all make mistakes, right? But you know what? It's always better to own up and say the truth. Right? That's more graceful. So when you respond that way, rather than criticisms, corrections, complaints, right? You realize that you actually start getting better results. So I let her say, and also started letting her know that, look, I also make mistakes, right? I let her see me mess up. I let her see me repair. And slowly, gradually, not overnight, not without hitches, but then the line stopped. And it's not really because I drummed honesty into her. It was because I created the conditions where honesty could naturally grow. And that's really what the Thrive pillar is all about. It's about the conditions that you create around your home, around your children, around your family, around anything that is intentional to you. Because when you're growing, remember, when you're growing intentionally, which is the grow pillar, and you are connecting authentically, which is the connect pillar, you are creating a rich soil. And in that soil, there are four essential things that will begin to flourish naturally. And this is what I've seen in my own life and in my own home as well. And at the very first one is emotional intelligence. When you start to help your children understand and navigate their feelings, emotional intelligence is something that it's a work in progress. I don't think anyone will really arrive and say, "Oh, I'm now emotionally intelligent and that's it." I don't think that exists, right? It's a work in progress. As long as we're human beings with feelings, with emotions, we would always get triggered, and it is our responsibility to ensure that we are able to channel those emotions properly, name them, validate them, not dismiss them, but be able to channel them appropriately and not have it control us, but we are able to control our emotions. And like I said, it's a work in progress for me. I'd say for me, and I believe for everyone as well. Right. So children learn emotional intelligence by watching you handle your own emotions when things go wrong. When things are not going your way, do you shout the house down? Do you, everybody knows, oh, there's just chaos everywhere, or you are able to handle it and not allow it control you. Experiencing it also helping them also to name these emotions, to validate these emotions. I mean, I say I don't feel good, and that's okay. And nobody really has to feel good all all the time. I don't feel good all the time, and that's okay. That's fine, right? And then how do I repair even when the emotions get the better of me, right? I mean, it happens to the best of us, right? So I'll give you an example. Before my daughter would have a meltdown, and I would say, "Why are you crying?" Or it's not a big deal. But now on my own journey, I realize that, oh my, you have to name those emotions, right? You're really upset now. I understand. We can talk about this later, or you know what, you could just take some time. I'll take some time to breathe, have some space, and we'll talk about it, or we'll deal with it later, depending on what the situation is. So my daughter had my two daughters have take gymnastics lessons, and I think this was about 6 weeks thereabout ago. There's a particular routine that my younger daughter was finding very difficult to pull through and navigate, and she had a couple of maybe one or two, three older people who it was easier for them to get that routine, and before now, before our intentional conscious parenting journey, she would when when something is not going her way, she just she gets very upset. She could walk away, and and that's the end of the whole thing. And teaching her through the process, taking it gradually. Right now, about 6 weeks ago, thereabout, this particular routine that she wasn't getting right. She didn't walk away, but it was clear she was visibly upset. She was visibly upset, particularly when her elder sister, which is older than her, and that's natural, right? But she feels like, how come I don't get it? Other people are getting it. How come I don't get it? And so I watched her, and I watched to see if she was going to walk away. She didn't. However, the it was visible on her face that there was just something she didn't like about the situation. And I went to meet her after the class. Look, it's fine, right? First of all, people who have gotten it in their maybe third or fourth attempt, they're older than you. Yes, you're doing your best. It's okay to feel bad, but then you can, rather than shutting down or allowing your emotions control you, you can ask yourself, okay, what can I do better? How can I what do I need to do better? How do I improve so that maybe in the next few sessions, I'm going to get this written perfectly. And so fast forward I haven't been taking them for sessions for a while. But fast forward I think that was last week. The sessions are usually Wednesdays and Saturdays. I think yeah, that last week Wednesday, or I think was this past Wednesday. After the session, I came in to pick them up, and I saw that every other child was already, just hanging out, waiting for the parents pick them up, or they were just playing generally around the gym. And but she was still practicing with her instructor. That part, just that routine, it kept going on, kept going, kept going. And so I realized that, oh, this is the effect of the conversations that we've been having, because I haven't been sitting with them in sessions. I just drop them off and then come pick, they just walk out to meet me in the car. But this time I came into the studio to pick them up. So I saw that they were having some extra classes even after the classes were done. And it was just that particular routine that they kept on practicing and practicing. Yes, she hasn't perfected it yet, but she's so much more better. And it wasn't because, I mean, she felt those emotions, but I think the idea here is that she was able to pick herself up and channel those emotions. Okay, so what can I do better? What do I need to do better? What exactly am I missing here? Rather than shutting down and then having the emotions get have take control over you, and then you just shut down, and then you're not even better. You've not improved in any way, right? So I was happy that she was actually practicing this, and I mean that's a beautiful way for a child to start understanding her emotions and not allowing it get the better of her. So, and she's also learning it because she's seen me doing it, right? When I'm frustrated, I say out loud, you know what, I'm frustrated right now, and this is not working the way I expect it to work. And, it's okay. I need to take a break. I need to try something differently. And I'm narrating my emotional world so that they can also learn the language of emotions. So it's always a good idea to name emotions to validate them rather than dismissing them. I think emotional intelligence is one core aspect of creating a good condition for your child to thrive naturally. Child who can, first of all, starts with an individual who can manage his or her emotions, or who can control his or her emotions, is already doing something wonderful. And then now modeling it for the child. I mean, the child picks it up and is able to channel it appropriately when the situations like this demand for it. Yeah. And the next one is resilience, right? Resilience again is not something you is not something you sit down and you lecture about. It's something that is built by, not protecting children from discomfort. It's built by supporting them through discomfort. And this is something that I also had to learn, right? There was a time I had to learn how to swim alongside my daughter because I wanted them to learn that I could do things afraid. I'm someone who all my life I grew up being afraid of water, right? But I also knew that it wasn't a good thing. So when I had my kids, I made them to I got them into swimming classes as early as age 4. And so but at some point the younger one to started getting scared of water. And I made up my mind to, you know what? I mean, it became so bad that she was all even scared to go for her swimming lessons. This was about 2 years ago, thereabout. And then I made up my mind. I said, "Oh, what do I do?" And I made up my mind to do it. So instead of encouraging from the sidelines, I said, we're going to do this together. And it was really important for me to do this because it was teaching her firsthand resilience, right? They saw my struggle. They watched me flounder. They watched me swallow water. They heard me say, this is really hard. They heard me say, I'm scared of the deep end, but I'm going to keep trying. And I mean, it was really a beautiful experience. And I'm very sure that this, whatever it is that all of the memories that was created during that period of learning, I'm not sure that there is any pep talk that would ever teach them more about resilience than that uh, um, simple thing in quotes that we had to do. Because it's really not about struggling. Oh, you have to learn that you will struggle, but you will have to keep going somehow, right? The challenges are temporary. Discomfort doesn't always mean danger. And I mean, basically just letting them know that, look, we all struggle, and you're going to get past this. So if they have that kind of conditioning from a very young age, then they are able to pull through challenges later in life when you're probably not able to do anything other than just, encourage them or advise them, as the case may be. Yeah. So I was part of what I also do is when they have their homework, I do not. And they're getting frustrated over maybe something difficult. Oh, we can sit together in the frustration. Okay, yeah, I know this is hard. Okay, so what exactly? Where are you stuck? Right. Okay, so don't you think you should substitute X for Y? Don't you think you should? I mean, so instead of jumping in to fix it, no. So you're gonna fix it, but I can guide you, right? I can coach you through it, right? I can help you to see, maybe help you point you to things that you're probably missing out on, and you know, basically just guide you and hold your hands. But you own you take ownership of fixing that particular issue. Yeah. So, and this is really tempting because sometimes, the temptation to just suddenly just rush in and help them remove that obstacle. So I always have to consciously pause and ask myself, hmm, can I support them through this rather than helping them to remove it is so easy. Like it saves everybody the headache. But in the long run, what exactly am I doing? Remember that we're trying to create the conditions for our children to thrive naturally, right? So it's more work, it's harder work, but then it has, it's more long lasting. And this is really what guarantees that those children you're nurturing would actually thrive in future. Yeah. And then the next one is life skills and enrichment, right? So this is about nurturing their practical abilities and creating experiences that basically support what their natural flair is. For instance, my daughters, they love stories, so they always like to make up stories. Yesterday the first one came on as well. She was writing a 10 part story, short series story. I think she had done about part 1 and 2 3 thereabout. I mean, oh, fine, okay, so we're going to read it together. I can help you point out maybe some areas, right, I feel if we could maybe do better, right? So basically we're writing it together. I mean, I'm guiding them. We journal our thoughts. We talk about the books that we're reading. And this is not about are they going to become writers or authors? No, this is all about creating the conditions where their natural love of storytelling is flourishing naturally. My second daughter, the one about the one I talked about, the gymnastics situation, she loves to sing. She's constantly singing. She's baking, she's singing. She's beating, she's singing. She's working, she's singing. So we help her. How do we help her? We make up songs together sometimes. There's always music in the background, particularly in the mornings when they're getting ready for school. We do karaoke together. We perform together. We celebrate her voice together. They are also enrolled in a music academy. I'm not signing her up for intensive vocal training, or I'm not saying she's gonna have a music career. I'm simply saying I see this gift in you, and here is room for you to grow. Basically, yeah. And what I've also realized is that when they are engaged in these activities that are aligned with their natural interests, so it's also about understanding or noticing or observing what their natural interests are and ensuring that we're pushing them or we're creating the conditions that will help those natural interests grow. And I always say that there is a relationship between skills building and things like discipline. So discipline, for instance, because they want to get it, they would naturally discipline themselves to what do they need to do to get this right. Remember, it is something that they love doing. So it's not something that is forced. Because they love to do it right, they don't need reminders or oh yeah, as children they probably need reminders and guidance and scheduling and all of that. But they are not forced, you're not forcing the activities on them. So so indirectly you're shaping discipline. You're building persistence because they care about the outcome. My children have recitals, for instance, they're practicing, they care about the outcome. They love this thing and they want to do it right. Yes. It also helps to build their confidence. Why? Because they are developing competence in something that is meaningful to them. So when a child is capable of doing something, naturally their confidence soars, right? Even as adults, we usually lack confidence when one of the major reasons why we lack confidence is when we're unsure of ourselves, right? We're called upon to say something and we're stuttering, we're stammering, all right. But when we know what we want to say, I mean, the other part is probably just okay, maybe stage fright or I haven't done this before, I haven't spoken to this large number of audience before. However, if I know what to say, I mean that's like half of the issues sorted. Yes. And also it helps them to develop their joy, right? Because they're operating in their zone of genius, they're operating in their zone of expertise. And it's building this practical life skills. So it's not just, oh, I'm playing music. It's focus that I'm building. It's not just I love gymnastics. No, it is resilience I'm building. It is persistence I'm building, right? It is this is challenging, but I'm going to get through it. That's actually what we are building. So it's building these life skills. Yes, they are enrichment activities. Yes, they could be creative or fun. But these everyday competencies, build confidence and the other life skills that we're talking about. Sometimes in the home too, I let them cook dinner or breakfast or lunch, depending on maybe weekends or if it's a weekday. Oh yes, it's messy. It takes longer. Honestly, sometimes I'm like, let me just do it myself. But I also know that yes, when they are handling it themselves in the kitchen, they are learning to measure, they are learning to follow instructions, they are learning to handle heat, sharp objects safely. They're learning to clean up after themselves. And all of this is building responsibility in them. Yes. And they're also building the confidence from, oh, I can contribute. I'm capable. Yeah. So it's all about creating small opportunities for them to explore further. Yeah. Okay. Just looking through the chat in case I've missed something. All right. Okay. And then the next one is character development. Character development is basically modeling and nurturing the values that last. Again, my children will not learn character through lectures about being kind or sitting them down and telling them about honesty, about kindness, about being brave. I have to embody those values. I have to own my mistakes. I have to be responsible. I have to apologize when I'm wrong. I have to treat domestic staff right. I have to be kind to strangers. I have to show teachers or other people around me in their school respect. I have to be kind to people. They're learning from watching me respond to their mistakes. Am I showing empathy or am I being harsh all of the time? They are not learning courage from motivational speeches, but they are watching me try new things, like in the when I had to learn how to swim. They are saying me speak up when something matters. Even when my voice is shaking, yes, I'm speaking up. Yes, I'm doing it afraid. And they see it and I tell them, look, I'm not very comfortable with this thing, but I'm going to try it. Yes. And when we also talk about it, it's not in preachy, long lecture ways. It's not in I can't make mistakes type of way, but it's with understanding how I used to talk before my daughter was lying. But now it's with understanding, it's with empathic tones. Right? Oh, I noticed that you shared your play item with your sister. That was really good. I noticed that you told me the truth despite knowing that I won't be happy that you did this. Thank you for telling me the truth. However, you need to do XYZ next time. Things like that. I'm narrating the values that I see living in them so that they can understand them, so that they can choose them again and again. And that's how I'm helping them see who they are becoming. And really, that's the magic of the Thrive framework, right? And remember where we started from, the growth framework, which gives you the emotional capacity, the self awareness. I'm telling you, all of this is not possible if you are not growing yourself. And that's why it's the very first thing you need to do. Grow yourself, not just for your children, for yourself first, right? Whether you have children or not, for yourself first. I had to unlearn, sorry, learn and unlearn, learn and relearn a lot of things and also and it's an ongoing affair. There is no destination. It is a journey. We'll keep at it. Why? Because we are building legacies for our children. So the growth framework is what gives us the emotional capacity, the self-awareness, the intentionality to show up differently. Yes. The connection framework is what creates that secure base from where our children feel safe enough to take risks, to make mistakes, and explore who they are becoming. Why? Because we're giving them the safe space to explore and you are building an authentic connection with them. And then, of course, from that foundation of grow and connect, thriving just becomes inevitable. It just becomes natural. So we're not engineering outcomes. We're not forcing development. We're not pulling that sprout of that seed. We are creating conditions. We're being the gardeners now, right? Not the engineer. And just like a gardener won't stress when a tomato plant is growing at a different rate than a cucumber plant, for instance, right? Because of course they are two different plants. We're also not panicking because child A development looks different from child B. So I'm trusting the process, I'm tending the soil, I'm providing what's needed, and I'm watching them grow exactly as they should. And this is what I always ask myself, right? I always ask myself these three things, right? Am I growing? Which means, am I doing the inner work? Am I doing my own inner work? Because I really cannot expect my children to just automatically become who I want them to become. If I am not doing the work, if I'm not modeling it for them. So I ask myself all the time, am I doing my own inner work? I ask myself, am I connecting? Am I showing up with presence? I ask myself, am I creating the right conditions that my children need? Am I providing the environment for them to flourish? Right. And that's it. That's the whole framework, right? And from that, everything else flows. I'm not doing more. I'm just being more intentional with exactly what I'm already doing. So that's the shift from doing to being, from engineering to gardening, from focusing or from forcing rather to creating the right conditions. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Right. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we've reached the end of this conversation. Again, I'll just drop the link here again if you'd like to. This is essentially all that I'm writing in my book at the moment. And that doesn't have a name, a title yet. However, it's basically my entire story, my journey that I'm also still on. The messy, beautiful journey, the perfectly imperfect journey that I'm currently on. And I would love for you to relive this experience with me as I write my book. If you'd like to receive chapter drafts, early drafts as I write them, please feel free to use the link and sign up, and I'll definitely share with you as I release the chapters. Thank you so much for joining. If there's anything that has resonated with you, or any comments that has you would like to drop based on everything that I've said so far, please feel free to drop them, and then we'll talk about them. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for caring enough to be here. And if you have any other questions, we can talk about it as well. If not, then I will see you around. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye.